Cool, and we are on a roll. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining today, this week's live. We appreciate you attending. If you all will notice, we've got a very special featured guest with us today. It's Jeff MacPherson, all the way from US. Jeff, thank you so much for joining. I know it's very early that side in North America. Thank you for joining. You are our expert when it comes to AI integrations. But yeah, Jeff, all the way from XnGen AI, just let the people know who you are, what you're doing. How did you get into the AI space?
So first of all, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. I know we've known each other for quite a while now, just watching each other kind of evolve in both of our worlds, but how fast it's come. I feel like we've known each other for like 10, 15 years based on how fast this industry grows. So I mean, I'm Jeff MacPherson, one of the co-founders at XnGen. We're an all-in-one platform for business AI, helping people set up their AI in their business. It can become overwhelming for people and businesses. So again, we've just kind of taken on that task for people. I've been in the AI space for probably 7 years now. Seems like a long time. It wasn't so much AI at the time, but I built the first conversational chatbot for Instagram direct messaging before it was even allowed. We built it on their third-party platform. It was a huge challenge at the time, but we ended up getting the platform to about 500 million followers using the technology at the time, when unfortunately it got shut down by Facebook, and then Facebook launched it through their direct partners. So it was a real experience on building something that Facebook wanted and they were going to use, and then just overnight just losing everything. From there, it's like I just continued to love the technology world and trying to innovate the next big thing in the markets, and then came together with my business partner, who I've known for a handful of years. He actually used to run the paid advertising for that company that got shut down by Facebook, and we were just able to come together with the same goal in mind, and that's kind of how XnGen started.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine with things changing so rapidly. You're saying, like, with the amount of years you've been in it, you're practically like a senior citizen in the industry. Like, you're like a professor. You're one of the OGs here, hey?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of because I don't have high technical. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I can for some reason see the markets and then where they're going, and just able to turn them into some sort of product that people want. I have the ability to communicate that from the technical people. So again, we've had some really good success. XnGen's only been around for a year's time, and it's growing rapidly, which is something that's just really fascinating to be a part of. It's nice to see people who join us as customers, how excited they are to work with us, working with you guys on what you're building, how exciting the conversations they are just between the two of us, and then just the customers that we're already working with and getting the systems built out, just the breath of fresh air that they get in their business. It's just, that's kind of my dopamine rush, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's
I also
awesome.
find like the gap between people using various AI tools and from we speak about it all the time, right, Steph? The practical application of how to integrate it into what you do without disrupting your daily processes. And I guess the big thing for me is that it seems like XnGen, you've managed to actually bridge that gap, Jeff, between the cool. There's a GPT, have fun using it, and here's how you practically integrate it into these ABC processes.
Yeah, I mean, as we could continue to build out XnGen, we always try and revisit, like, what's the underlying problems that you're solving, like the true underlying problems. It's not necessarily creating content, or it's like doing marketing or building funnels. Like, that's not the underlying problem that it's really solving. To me, it's like, it's setting up these tools and setting up the tools so they work properly. Whatever the department is, whatever the task you're trying to solve, it's like that's an underlying problem, because it doesn't really matter. So how can you simplify the setup for businesses? The other thing with it is, well, underlying problem, and people know it's important, but I think it's kind of brushed underneath the rug, is your company's data, and setting that into a centralized piece so your AI can run off your company's data, that you don't have to retrain it every single time that you go to ChatGPT or a specific app. And then the other one, which we think is the most fascinating, is AI, like team adoption or employee adoption. So you just mentioned it, Travis, like the habits that we get into to add another tech stack to our daily routine is extremely tough. And especially if you don't really know how it works. And then with the AI space, if it's not set up properly, you become discouraged and then you stop using the tech stack that's essentially there. So it's like the employee adoptions, like some stuff that we've done is taking tools like yours or other tools that are on the market and essentially integrating it directly into like their Slacks. So like just as an example, so they don't have to learn another tool. We've setting up their data and then their team knows how to use it because we show them how to use it properly. So those are the underlying problems because it doesn't matter the process, the department, the team member, or what they're trying to solve. That's the underlying problems that we believe we're solving.
Well, that's fantastic. I think that employee adoption for me is also hyper important. I mean, because people might not realize how much it actually can impact their daily lives to use these things like hyper efficiently, where the people who are actually going to benefit actually might not be the people using it themselves. So very, very interesting. But Jeff, if you have anything to share today, please feel free. I know you did say that you have a few slides. We'd love to dive into those if you could.
Yeah, I mean, just a few things that just kind of based on those 3 points is just kind of understanding the power of like using your company's data to solve like an individual task. I think it's super important for people to understand, like even on the lower level, you can get a lot of benefits from it. There's some slides that we can go through, but I think just like speaking on them out loud instead of doing the full walkthrough because it is pretty intensive, and I just don't want to overwhelm people and bore them. So the 3 of us can kind of go through it and have the conversation. I can verbally speak on kind of the power of it, and then from there's some key takeaways that people will really resonate with.
Great, sounds good. Yeah, awesome.
Can you see my screen? Yeah, you can.
Oh, yeah, there's a thing.
Look at that. New technologies, learn them all day, every day too. So the big thing for us, and this is what we likely teach in most of our workshops that we get invited to, we're continuing to refine this just because, I mean, it can, for some people, depending on their level of business, it seems overwhelming. But the big thing that we try and nail home is AI is like a brand new intern to your business. It's like it takes time. It's like they're not the smartest things in the world in the beginning, but it's not like you're going to set up these tools, whether it is using ChatGPT or using Claude or using any of the tools on the market. It takes time to set them up, to train them, just like a regular employee. And that's one thing that people just really need to understand. So, I mean, I don't really want to get too much into large language models. There's an analogy that I use just for the audience, and we'll go into like the plumbing world. So think of a output or an app that you use as a kitchen sink or bathroom sink, as like that's where you're washing your hands, you're actually doing the thing, whatever it may be. The piping to it is your prompting, your knowledge base, all of that fun stuff. But in a lot of, I mean, and hopefully in every single kitchen sink or plumbing, there's a trap in it, and that's where the water sits to block out the bad stuff coming back through the pipes and out through the other side. So that's where you consider like your guardrails and prompting it properly so you can protect from that stuff. And then the water is essentially the LLM that runs the whole system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
We like to use that analogy because, I mean, I use it on my dad, who's 65, who doesn't have social media and barely knows how to text properly.
Right.
He just figured out Bitmojis. So once I explained it to him like that, it was okay. I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like trying to communicate such a complex technology to people who don't understand it. That's, again, like I was saying, that's where I like to bridge the gap in terms of the knowledge base. But I mean, LLMs, typically what we use is your OpenAIs and your Claudes. We noticed that OpenAI is more on the logical side. I don't know if you guys have seen the difference. And then like your Claude's more on the creative side. We're seeing Claude do a lot more things now. I like their user interface a lot better, where you're typing on one side and then it's doing the work on right beside it. the code base. So if you're trying to build artifacts, if you're trying to build like a simple form, whether it's in Python, React, again, I don't want to get too technical to it. Again, you can see the code and then it will show you the visual interface. So we're using Claude a lot more on your day-to-day basis, but this is what we've seen. It's like OpenAI is more on your logical problem solving, and then your Claude is more on the creative side is what we're seeing. I don't know if you guys are seeing the same thing.
Finding 4.0 for me is actually shining quite nicely in terms of structuring a written content. I would say for me, 4.0 is great. However, I do prefer Claude just to bring it kind of across the line in a bit more natural, creative, human-like element for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and this is on your day-to-day stuff. When you're getting into your technical API connections and integrations and stuff like that, OpenAI, I think, gives us more capabilities when it comes to that. So again, it's just for us, we don't try and steer people one way or the other. They're all really good. It's just a matter of what you like, your benefits, what you're trying to get from them. Test them all. Like if you're doing something on OpenAI, try it on Claude. It's not very difficult to do one or the other, and then just pick and choose your preference. Like that's basically how we kind of talk to people about it. So then there's the difference between prompting or instructions, and then your knowledge base, your memory, or the context that you give it. Your prompting is just your detailed instructions that you give to the actual OpenAI itself. So it is essentially the task, the instructions that come with it, and then sometimes like your examples. That's how we typically prompt. You got your task, the instructions it needs to follow, and then the examples. So it has some sort of idea. Your memory or your context is your brand voice, your business information, like however you want it to speak on a continual basis over and over, the information you want it to speak on over and over. So it's like you take the prompting and then you connect it to your memory, it spits out a better answer. And that's where setting it up properly, building that foundation, and then training it continues to get better over time. So it's like if you hire an intern, it knows nothing about your business, about your brand in the beginning. It takes them however long to be able to understand that stuff, and then they get the task that they're supposed to do, and then they start using the brand to what their actual day-to-day task is.
And wouldn't you also just say that the combination of the two is so incredibly important? Because if you're just relying on because I've worked on projects where they kind of just rely on prompting, and then like learn and like teaching the model something is like pulling teeth because it's so labor intensive and it's going to get it wrong. Alternatively, relying only like solely on memory to just start generating for you, it doesn't deviate. It kind of gets stuck in a loop quickly because it's like regurgitating the same information. So it's kind of having that, using those two in balance with one another, right?
It really is, and the more information memory you give it, the more prompting and instructions that you give it. And that's the training part of it. It's like as your business grows, you get more information, like you learn more things. You need to continue to teach your AI the same thing. It's important. It's not deep learning. It doesn't learn on its own. And this is where having somebody in your team who essentially does this for you all the time, weekly, monthly basis, depending on how much is so important, because also as businesses evolve, and so do the technologies, you need to pull out that old information. And that goes back to the analogies like the trap in plumbing. It's like you need to block the bad stuff out, or the stuff that's irrelevant, no longer relevant to your situation that you're in, remove it, and then put in the new information. That stuff still needs to be done by humans.
Yeah, 100%.
The big part, what we were trying to do at Colossio was we were trying to create that constant feedback loop where we were taking your existing marketing data, feeding that into a brain, then having your content be ranked against each other so that you know what's best performing, what's not, right? And then create content only from the good stuff that gets you more conversions, more clicks, more purchases, etc. And just before that, we hadn't trained any models. We hadn't done anything like that. And I just opened up a very simple chat. I then dropped a PDF document of some of the studies I did a couple of years ago, management accounting, and dropped it in there, asked it a couple of questions, and I said, keep this for memory, right? So I think there's quite a huge difference between you training your own model on the back end and actually just starting a new chat. Because it was about 4 months, I'd say, close to about 85 days, 90 days, sorry, 95 days, 100 days, I referenced it again, and GPT wasn't able to pull that. So I just want to say that there is a little bit of a distinction between you storing your content on your chat and asking it to refer back, and compared to you actually training your own model on the back end of OpenAI.
Yeah, and like the feedback loops, like they are possible to build out, and they can be autonomous, and like you can get into agents and stuff like that. We don't recommend it in the early days, like, and you need an experienced person in your team who understands this stuff, because again, we like to use the intern comparison. Is like, you're not going to hire an intern and have them run your business. Like, it's just not going to happen. So it takes time, but it is absolutely possible. It's just we believe AI is a human enhancement right now. It's not a replacement. So that's another thing we like to drill home for sure, is making sure that you're setting these things up properly so the team that you already have can excel to next levels to take your business from 1 million, 10 million, $50 million a year, whatever that number may be, and take you to that potential through that ceiling in the wall that you may be hitting without having to bring in more people.
Mm.
Do you find that that's also universal across, say, dispersed teams and diverse departments, where perhaps creating 4 posts a month or 4 pieces of content from AI, like the people who are stuck in the loop and saying, well, I don't work in marketing, I don't need AI to create social media posts. Like, where's your head on that, Jeff?
Um, that's a tough one, because I can get real nasty, let's call it. Like, to me, somebody who says like, I don't have to worry about that in a business because I'm not in that department, that's a broken culture to me. It's like the marketing side, the sales side, the product side, the customer support side, all of those have everything to do with the most important thing is your customers. It's like, and having those all in sync is the only way that you can continue to grow. I'm a strong believer that you can have a really bad product or really bad service and build a really successful business with the best customer success on the planet. I really do. If you understand what your customers want and you understand their pain points and you communicate that with them, they'll continue to pay you over and over and over. And you've seen I've bootstrapped multiple software companies, and in the early days, it's like your products aren't good. You run into situations like your service, you don't have the team to service them properly. Like, this is growing pains that every business runs into at some point. But as long as you communicate with your customers and you understand why they might have been frustrated, is like how you can do better, and you solve those issues, they'll continue to pay you even in the bad times. So it's like for us, what we try and look at is like, we've learned this framework from one of our mentors. It's like, you look at it as a triangle. You have to attract your customers, you have to convert your customers, then you have to transform your customers. Those are the 3 steps that you need to do. And again, your marketing department has to do with your customer success. This is where it's going to all pull it together. Most importantly is your business needs to have a foundation underneath of it. When you see apartment buildings are built, skyscrapers, downtown cities, they've got to go hundreds of feet down before they go up. Because if not, the building will fall over. So any business, whether it's AI or not, if you don't have a solid foundation, as you continue to go up, it'll collapse. So it's like when we're working with customers, it's like, we need to make sure that your foundation is set, so we start rolling this stuff out, that it actually works and it sticks. Then there's attracting customers. And here's where I'll connect what you were talking about. Let's say posting organic content. You're not even running paid media. AI can help you spit out hundreds of pieces of content on a monthly basis. Great. Is it relevant? I'm not 100% sure. Have you trained it? All that fun stuff. There's lots of tools out there that can help you with it. But that's one way to attract customers, just on the organic side. Then there's converting your customers. So new people coming to your platform, your service, your website, whatever it may be. It's like, personalize their experience. AI allows you to personalize their experience through conversational marketing. It's like, if somebody comes through and you understand their needs, you're building that trust before they're purchasing. So even an e-commerce product, they come through some sort of form or some sort of link, and it's like they're going through a chat experience. It's like you can personalize the products that you believe they need using AI before they even know it. It kind of gets into, it's like your paid advertising, the media that you guys know. It's like running ads. Like Facebook knows what we want before we do. Like they have that much information on them. So it's like if you set up these personalized experience in an onboarding or before they buy a product, you can make that touch point so much easier for them to actually purchase at the end of the day. Then the last thing is your customer feedback or your transform. So you've already got customers, you got people paying for you. It's like, do people have their CSAT scores, their customer satisfaction, their net promoter scores, like all this feedback? Do people collect it? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So it's like for us, all of our customers that we work with now, is like if they don't collect it, we get it from them, because the feedback we can get from them. Let's say I send out the survey, people fill it in, and all of them, or 90% of them, say your customer support sucks. Guess the first thing we're going to solve using AI is customer support. It's like, ask your customers what they want better, so you don't have to continue to bring in new customers. You can bring more money from the customers that are already paying you. So now taking all those, it's like you created content, fine. It was with no information. As people are coming through, they're going to tell you their pain points, what they want, and you're going to be able to take all that data, analyze it using AI to create better content. So it's like as they're coming through, they're not asking as many questions on the way. So you're getting them to that experience faster. Then once they've purchased, how can you better that experience afterwards? So this is like your remarketing and all that stuff. It's like, maybe it's, I wish we had more products that did Y, or I wish I could purchase a t-shirt in pink. Like create the t-shirt in pink, promote it through the organic, and now you're starting to solve the issues in that triangle form. And that's kind of the ever-going cycle where it's important for all the departments to be able to communicate, be on the same page, and rowing in the same direction. And that's what we heavily focus on in the beginning when working with customers.
So what you're saying, Jeff, is that XnGen would ultimately come in, look at the problems with you, and then kind of unpack those one by one, department by department?
Depending on the size of the business, yes, we go departmentalize for sure.
Right.
But it's amazing that all the departments usually have the same issues. Most businesses need the same problems, but what we're actually extracting is the information on how we're going to communicate the output using AI. So it's like what your customers, and this goes back into the bootstrapping world of, don't build something that your customers don't want, ask them, and then just build that for them. That's really the concept behind the whole thing. So like going through departmental, just understanding is like, we know what we need to solve for their business before they do. It's the same thing. We're collecting that information in your onboarding. So when we jump on, like, you're hiring us as the experts to tell you what you need, like, end of story. Otherwise you wouldn't hire us. So it's like in the beginning, we were trying to extract that from them in the beginning and building to their needs. But it's like a lot of people, they're joining this AI world as like a blank piece of paper. People know about AI, but they don't know how to use AI, and then they're scared of AI. So how do you solve for all those in a short period of time? It's like, don't solve them, just tell them what they need and just make them feel comfortable that you're going to be able to deliver those results.
And you know what, Jeff, like having kind of your fingers in the pie of many departments, especially with XnGen, having kind of working with multiple departments. I've also found that your client experience should inform your product, your production side. It should inform the product life cycle, as opposed to the other way around. And those two data points, the client experience data points, as well as the production life cycle data points, those two should work together and not in isolation.
100%. And this is like clear expectations of business owners and entrepreneurs. It's like, oh, I just want AI to do everything for me. Well, that's not realistic. It doesn't happen. So part of it, and again, it's a tough thing. Like we're in a world where it's like heavy education. It's heavy education. It's habit changing. Like it's a tough world. And it's not like a typical business that's been around for 20 years. Like we got no templates to work off of. Like we're all just in this road together, figuring it out one at a time. That's why we kind of like the collaborative world that we're in. But the expectations that we solve, again, we use frameworks now for everything because it really paints a clear picture. So there's the outcome. What's the outcome that a business wants? What do they want in their business? Again, let's just use customer support as an example. We want to solve customer support tickets on a mass scale. Great. Now we can work with that. Then there's like, okay, what do we have? And that could be like third-party tools that we work with, different vendors, things that we've built, so on and so forth. Okay, we've got that. And then what's the scalability? What's the technologies on the market going to allow us to do? It's like we can't, in simple form, do customer support, and then have like an avatar sent out every single time to answer the questions. Like the technologies don't allow for that at scale right now. So like then that's where we like, okay, so this is what you want. Here's what we've got. So it's possible, but here's the limitations that the technology is going to allow. And it's like, okay, I get that. But AI is in the worst form today. Tomorrow it's going to be in the worst form. So every day it's getting smarter. Every day it's getting better. So it's like, it's not like a tool is going to get worse, or like, I mean, a tool is going to get worse if people stop building it. But you get the kind of the concept. It's like AI is only getting smarter every single day. So it's in its worst form today. And those are the clear expectations that we really hammer home again when starting, because it's laying down the law. It's like, okay, here's where we are. Here's where we're going to take you. But you got to understand, we're going to run into these things along the way. And then it's just, that's where you've got that trust in that relationship to it. So when those times come, because it's inevitable, they're going to come, we can address those a little bit easier.
But I do think that starting from the foundations, Jeff, just making sure that you're feeding that data into something that you can later reference when a certain AI is ready, much like our talking head that we're working with NVIDIA on, is just make sure that the data is there, because as soon as the tech is ready, you'll then be able to do exactly what you need it to do as long as you have it.
And this is personal experience, like me getting shut down by Facebook. I had all my eggs in one basket. I was building that platform. I was bound to Facebook or Meta. It is now. And then when they shut down the business, I lost everything. Horrible experience. It's like a lot of businesses have been through that to some capacity, whether it's at my level or bigger or whatever. It's still a lot, is overwhelming. So it's like, we also help businesses understand, it's like making sure that you're modular, you're not bound to one platform. Like it's super important, because your AI runs on the data. So it's like, if you build your database and you own that, it doesn't matter if you're using OpenAI or Claude or Gemini. It's like you can plug it in anywhere, which is great. So you're not bound to OpenAI. But if you use an AI wrapper or an AI tool that's only on OpenAI, and you train it on that tool specifically, and then OpenAI goes down, then you lose everything and you got to start fresh. So it's like part of the foundation. And we do this in part of because like data, it's overwhelming. It's like people don't, they know it's important, but it's like, I don't really want to talk about it because it's data. Unless you get some real data nerds, but they're fun to work with. It's like setting up your database, your data warehouse. It's like, then you have the ability to plug into different vendors, different apps, different LLMs. It's like, so if something happens, you can remove it, and you don't have to start new. Like, and that's coming to your point. It's like, that's part of the foundation period. It's like, there's tools out there. We use something it's called weld.app. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Fantastic platform. I mean, we're not affiliated with them, but we use them for data ingestion. It'll go through like all of your ad platforms, all of your tech stacks. Like, they've got 150 plus different tools that, as you go through their flow, it'll download all the data from that and build it into your data warehouse or BigQuery, SQL, all that stuff. Then from there, step 2 is, okay, now you need to convert it into a way where AI can understand it. And that's like vectorizing at scale, another technical thing that we won't get into. And then from there is when you're getting into plugging it into the apps.
And by that point, it's agnostic of the app. You can plug it into anyone, right? Because your data is sorted.
Exactly. And that's why it's a lot of the vendors most important. We spoke about this in the early days when we started chatting, is like, do you guys have API? Because we're setting up the data warehouses for the companies. So it's like, working with you guys on the API side is important, because we don't want our customers to be landlocked if for some reason, so help me God, something happened to you guys as well. Like that's just how we think. And we think it's important that the customers that we work with have that security as well.
No, interesting. That is super, super interesting, Jeff. Thank you so much. Yeah.
The big thing for us is like we don't build a lot of the apps or the tools. There's some stuff that we build, but again, working with you guys has been fantastic, which is great. It's like we stay in our lane and we work with experts to understand their frameworks, and those frameworks are essentially the outcome. We believe that people purchase the outcome or the framework. So it's like Matt, as an example, as you guys know, my business partner, he's got over 100,000 followers on social media. So he's built a framework on how to produce really good growing content for business. So it's like we've taken that framework, we've trained AI on it, and we're building a content machine so a business can get the outcome in their own brand. So it's like same thing with like a copywriter. I'm not an experienced copywriter, but if I take their framework on how they write good copy, train AI on it, and plug in the tools, somebody else can get good copy on their brand, so on and so forth through the department. So we work with experts in their fields to essentially download their IP to an extent to train AI on, so everybody can have that expertise in that framework on their own voice.
So almost, not to use Microsoft Copilot word, but you almost have a co-pilot, an assistant who's got kind of photographic memory, has every single piece of data it needs, and it's sharper than you 99% of the time. However, they don't have a human brain. And you ultimately providing that to the individual so that they can amplify exactly what they're doing to be able to do more and actually create better business outcomes for themselves to make them look good at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and it kind of goes into, let me just pick this one slide here. So, and this kind of comes into, just to touch on it quickly, it's like the context and the introduction. A lot of stuff we do is like, you are an engineer, you are a business analyst. And this is like me speaking to the LLM just in chat form. You are a social media manager, and I want this. So putting them in the position of the profession so it understands, because it understands the macro of an engineer. Like it just gets that. So it's like for us, if we work with an expert in copywriting and we essentially take their framework, and this is how we've built the ladder. So like there's your framework, and we don't believe one tool can solve for like a whole business process. And I'll give you the example in a second. So there's a framework. We're going to do copywriting, but then there's copywriting for social media, websites, emails, newsletters. They're all different. They are all completely different. So from there, the process is we want to solve the copywriting. So there's a framework, which is the knowledge base for the actual IP itself. The processes we want to solve for copy. And now it's like we need to have 5 different tools to an extent, to that one does social media, one does email, one does newsletters. Like that's kind of where it is. Then from there, it's like there's components. So it's like the feedback loop components. How do we connect them all so they're all working together, collecting feedback, what's working on, like this post or this email got 99% open rate and this one got 2. Why? So like creating those components underneath of it, those are the enhancers, the plumbing pieces to the outcome that solves the process that follows the framework. Then the employee adoption side, once you've got all those set, let's plug it into your Slack. Again, so those are connectors. So connecting them so the people don't have to worry about the employee adoption. So now you've got your employee, your team member could use this process, use this framework in Slack. It's enhanced, and as they use it, they're going to continue to have the feedback loop. So they're going to understand why one works better than the other. You're going to be able to solve across email, newsletters, social media, captions, whatever this may be, copywriting, because they're all different. People experience in their own. Then it's like, okay, now we've solved the copywriting process, and it's following the framework that's there. So that's how we continue to build the ladder throughout departments. So that and that's the complex thing. It is very complex, but if you think about it, it's very simple. And that's how we build businesses. Those are the things that we have to go through. We're just going really granular, because the more granular we can go and the more steps we can teach AI go through, the faster it will get there. If we just say take human and then come up with like it's gonna mess up in between. So it's like giving it the instructions, which here instructions on how to get from team member to output with the pieces in between. That's when you're going to be able to get the output much quicker.
But I can also absolutely see the value of how these tools can be connected kind of to multiple departments, but also connecting multiple departments to each other.
Correct.
So it really creates like this, for lack of a better word, this like spider web of interconnectivity and data sharing and just collaboration. And in the background, it's like the duck on water. Like at the top, it's going smooth, but at the bottom, it's kicking, right?
100%. And like agents are out there. They're not. I mean, we don't work with agents on a mass scale yet. And these are just like your AI agents, the ones that are communicating with each other. This is when you're getting like fully autonomous. But just like an intern or an assistant, like unless you've got a playbook where you can do a process with your eyes closed and you don't have to worry about it, if you put that into place with before that, it won't do it right. It won't do it right. So, I mean, it's going to get there. It's 100% going to get there. When? Who knows? I mean, how fast AI moves, it could be a month. I don't believe so, but it moves extremely quick. We're thinking by early 2026 is when agents are really going to start making a difference in people's businesses. So it means essentially you've got just over a year to get your business AI foundation set up. So when agents come, you can plug them in and it starts running the business for you.
I think especially when companies like NVIDIA start saying that every person in every single company job position will have an AI agent, and we're going to make sure of that. I think it's going to happen, right? They are basing their entire product roadmap on that, and the entire business's financial stability on that, right?
It's not if, it's when.
Yeah,
it really
absolutely
is. So I mean, and like, I mean, we're kind of covering everything that I want to talk. But the big thing that we like to really get into and showing like the custom GPTs and stuff like that, and we can touch on that because I want to explain it to people. Is if you can get your your output that you want. What do you want to accomplish? Whether it's sales, like this, it can be even as like a fitness coach. It's like I want to be able to deliver more fitness plans to people coming through. Just use that as an example. Actually, I'll just use that as a full example. So somebody comes through some sort of form, like we were talking about in the beginning. So collect all their information about them. What do they want to have? What do your customers want in their outcome? You take that stuff. You've got all of your fitness plans, like all of your workout routines, all of your frameworks that you follow, and you put that into a custom GPT knowledge base in memory. Then you basically, the prompt in a very simple term is take customer information, relate it to all of my knowledge base, and then provide me with a new plan for this person. Custom GPT will do that for you. And that's what it is. So it's like solving one task using the prompting, memory base, and getting the output that you want. It's like, great. Now imagine taking all of your company data across all of your departments, using multiple apps and having them communicate together, the uplift you can get in your business. And that's where we try and really get people to try and understand the power of what AI can do.
I think even seeing things like some practical applications in the market at the moment, right? Your note takers like Fireflies or quite a few
Fathom.
others, right?
Yeah, Fathom is what we use.
Fathom, they're already taking a transcript, giving you action items, sending you summaries and everything like that already. So if you had to think about that application, but into strategy meetings, into you doing absolutely anything that requires you to create an output on your computer, could very well be and will very well be powered by some sort of AI at the end of next year, right?
Absolutely. Like we use Fathom. They've been fantastic for us. Their team's amazing. We get early access to a lot of the features, which is also amazing. So they just added a way where you can it's kind of like using ChatGPT and asking the transcriptions on key talking points, but it's not at the point where you can upload your brand, like your company's brand messaging and all that stuff to their platform. So what we do and what we recommend people like in sales or services, you use Fathom or whatever video recording, call recording tool you want to use. Take the recording from it. So that's all the information, your sales call. Then you can put it into your custom GPT or your custom project if you're using Claude. It understands your brand, your voice, how you guys communicate your product, all that stuff. You paste in the transcription, and then it spits out a proposal. Now you send that proposal to the business. You're done. 2 seconds. Don't have to worry about doing a proposal anymore. If you want to make it pretty, there's lots of tools out there. Gamma.app. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. It's fantastic. Take the text, put it in, builds the whole presentation. You're off to the races. Like you can have a proposal done in 10 minutes.
I think further than that, right? I think on a larger scale, you could even, from those meetings you spoke about, to create the presentations based on the conversations you've had. I mean, I definitely see it getting to a point where those conversations that are happening are actually mapped, and you're able to understand where you're losing customers at what point in the conversation and why, and what are some keywords, right? And I think that's the part that makes me very excited, because then you're able to make a difference to a lot of how you behave, how you respond, and you can actually get better from that.
Yeah, and going back, you're 100% right, and back to the intern. I just want to like keep reiterating on that, because I mean sometimes it just takes a few more times to hear it. It's like in a sales aspect, you're not going to just hire a salesperson. They're going to know how to close right away. If it's an intern, they're just not. It's just so it's like, don't think that AI can just do everything perfectly from the beginning. Like it takes time, it takes training, and if you can step back and look at it that way, you're not going to be as disappointed when you use it for the first time.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's amazing.
See, this is what I mean. Like this is like we get to wake up every day and have these conversations with each other.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Like stress and all, trying to keep up with the market. We have no idea what it's going to do. It's amazing. Like. Yeah. I like how the industry that we're in, and I mentioned this earlier, the collaborative spirit that's in here. It's like we're all trying to accomplish the same thing to an extent. But we're all working together. It's like, well, and we talk about this all the time. Well, what's working for you? Well, what's not working for you? And it's like, we're all just trying to figure this out. So at the end of the day, we can build better products and services for the people who need it.
And you know what, while the adoption is clumsy, it is inevitable. Because like things are moving fast, the people that are still kind of I want to say seeing AI as a gimmick, that perception is very quickly changing because of the practical implications it has, and it will have within the next, like you said, but year or two. Your business it's going to be a requirement for like effective business processes to have AI integrated into not only the client side, but inside of your business, handling your data.
Absolutely.
100%. And the problem with it is right now is, so people want to introduce AI. It's like, well, where do I go? Who do I trust? Because there's not that many people out there that actually know it. There really isn't. So it's like, you need a leader on your team. Who's that leader? Is it somebody already in your team? Likely not. So it's like, okay, you wanted to hire call him a chief AI officer. One, good luck finding one, because they're likely building their own tool or their own system. These people are not necessarily bolt-ons as individuals. It's like, okay, now this person's came into your business and they've told you all the amazing things that you need to do with AI. Great. They're not the ones setting it up, and your team is not setting it up either, because they don't know how to keep up with it. So now you need to go and you need to build an integration team for your business. Okay, so do you need engineers? Do you need prompt engineers? Where do you start? Where do you source them? Like, do you go on Fiverr? Do you do all this stuff? That's part two. It's like, great. Then once you get it all set up, who's maintaining it? Who's continuing to maintain? Like if OpenAI goes down or it goes from 4.0 to 5, it's like your feedback loops. Who's building the feedback loop side of it? And those are the three different teams that we talk about, because that's what you need when building these things at scale for your business. You don't need this at every level of your business, but at the end of the day, that's what XnGen does. It's like we become your chief AI officers, we become your integration team, we become your feedback loop team, all in one suite. So you don't have to worry about it, because the most important thing we want people to focus on in their business is their business, not the evolving AI smoke and mirrors that are out there.
Yeah, because there's really so much of that as well, right? There really
Yeah.
is.
There's so much. Everybody just trying to squeeze as much of the market and money as possible, because, and which I really like about the industry, is the gurus and all these experts and stuff like that. AI is going to expose these people for everything that they are, because you can only talk so much about this stuff before just doing. Like, I could sit here and talk about AI all day, but you can come to me and I can show you that we've done it, physically show you that we've done it. But then you got the gurus who are talking about it, and it's just like, here's 100 prompts that are going to be completely useless for your business. Like, and so it's
very
going to
different. Very different.
There's a huge difference behind the whole thing, and we're really happy that it's going to start exposing those people as well, because they ruin it for people like us.
Trying to actually effectively make a change and actually make a difference.
Yeah. And not just squeezing heads for money.
Yeah, you got me there. But listen, guys, I see we've been chatting for 45 minutes.
Very much.
There's a lot to download from this one. I'm so glad we recorded it. Listen, Jeff, last words. Where can we find you? Is it XnGen? You can find you on the website, socials.
Yeah,
everywhere.
XnGen.ai on our website. Our socials are linked from there. I believe just platform to platform, there might be slight things that might be changing. So XnGen.ai is the website. Yeah, I mean, people have questions, reach out. We're happy to help, have the conversations, and we enjoy having the conversations as well. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, look,
Amazing.
Jeff, we've really appreciated your time. Thank you so much for joining. And yeah, to the people watching, leave any comments if you have any further questions for Jeff or for us. We'll get back to you ASAP. And yeah, Jeff, thank you again, and have a great morning.
Yeah.
And
I'll see you around.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.